Hey everyone, here's a quick tip. I'm just about to get my boxes ready to paint, prime and paint. But I'm going to show you one little thing I like to do to my boxes before I get them painted. And what I like to do is, you notice when you, with boxes that fit really well together, like these do, it gets really hard to get your hive tool in between those boxes when you're trying to separate them. They're so tight together that, man, it's really hard to get that hive tool in there without damaging the corners, and you get it just a little bit off and you cut off a little bit of a piece of wood and it just gets really tough. So what I like to do is, I don't know if you can see this, I like to run my boxes through my router table and just use a little bit of a quarter round over bit and take off just the very edge. And you can see what that does is, now as my hive tool slides down the box, it finds that groove right where it needs to be, and it's easy to get the hive tool in there and pry right where you need to pry without damaging your box. And so every time you go to separate your boxes, your hive tool just kind of naturally slides right into that groove, and now it's easier to separate your boxes. So I like to do that with mine. I realize that maybe this is a spot for a little bit of water to accumulate, but for us out here in the West, that's such a minor issue. We don't get rain all that often that it's really not a big deal. I've never had a problem with it, but just having that little bit of a lip, I'm not taking off a whole lot. As you can see, I'm just taking off just a tiny bit and making that corner so it's a little easier to get my hive tool in there and separate my boxes. Tip of the day. I'm finally getting around to getting my boxes painted. This is the first coat. I've put a primer coat on beforehand, and I think that's always a good idea to put a primer coat of paint on the boxes. I know the paints that you buy nowadays all say paint and primer all in one, but if you really want these things to last and not have to be painting them in a couple of years again, put a primer coat on and then put the paint on, and you'll find that they last a whole lot better. I'm just painting the outsides of the boxes. I'm not painting the insides. I am painting this edge just a little bit. I don't really care if it's perfect on this edge, but I kind of like to get just a little bit of paint there as well. This is just the first coat, so they're not perfect yet. There's a few missed spots, but that's why you do 2 coats of paint. So here's the first coat. We'll get the second coat on in another day or two when this is good and dry, and then these boxes will be ready to go.